And some favorite composers, you know, like, well, music.
How fortunate this is to have been chosen. This is what
Identify the date and where we're at and who you are.
Right. Today is April 9th, 1994, and I'm Sister Maria Goretti Zehr, the Sisters of Charity of the Incarnate Word, and we're meeting here in the choir loft of the Chapel of the Incarnate Word, the Mother House in San Antonio, Texas.
Mike's not in the picture?
No. Did we want to start off with her playing? Okay, could you just play something? Do we want her to, we could actually put the lights moving. Okay.
What?
I was going to say we could actually just have her playing without sound and put the sound to it.
Let's do
Do it
it.
this way.
You want your favorite hymn?
I would love my favorite hymn.
Okay.
And then if you'll turn it off after you turn
Okay.
to me.
Okay. This is especially for show.
One second. Did that microphone show, did the battery pack show up set on the back? Could you turn facing like you were? Do you see that?
Oh, no, you can't see it.
You can't?
Because it's the same color as your wardrobes.
It's lost? Okay, I'm sorry. I just didn't want to have that whole thing with that battery looking like you were plugged in or something. Okay, so let's try it again. Let's try with the music again. That thing, that was beautiful. And I'm going to put the music up here. This way we can see that. I just want her to start talking. We don't ask the question. I want it so we can use this as...
Yeah, I think she knew that.
Okay, we're going to start this one out. We'll have the music playing. You're going to turn, as soon as the sound dies, that thump dies, you're going to say, hi, or you're going to say, I'm Sister Goretti, and I joined the congregation because, or...
Okay, I go into my store.
You're going to answer the question. We're not going to ask, all the others will ask.
Okay.
But this one, just for the transition to make it work smoother, we won't.
Okay.
And so why did you become a Sister of Charity?
This is really just an excuse, but I just worry about the shadow there as you do that, if it fluctuates.
Sister Maria Goretti Zehr from Incarnate Word College, and I'm a Sister of Charity of the Incarnate Word. And I'm very happy to share with you some thoughts that are important to me that have guided my life to this point. I became a Sister of Charity of the Incarnate Word as a graduate from one of their high schools in St. Louis, where I grew up, St. Louis, Missouri. I attended the Academy of the Incarnate Word there. And for many years, the idea of becoming a sister was attractive, but I fought it off successfully. I thought, what a waste. as most of my friends thought, what a waste. But they were so happy, and they didn't pressure me. I had come to know some other religious women who would have like little weekends at their mother house, and I'd go to those, and I thought, that's nice, but that's not for me. And I think the very fact that these sisters didn't pressure me, but just drew me by their own happiness, was an important factor. I had a wonderful piano teacher, Sister Teresa Joseph Rackers, and we would have great fun at our piano lessons. And she never once said, do you think you'd like to become a sister? Never once. So I didn't have a feeling of pressure. I just had a feeling of, these are happy people. They're spending their lives doing something important. And for a while I thought I'd like to go into music professionally. I thought no matter what I do in music, there'll be so many people so much better than I. Let me see, what can I do possibly that the sky's the limit, that I can keep on growing and keep on trying to become a better person. And so next thing you know, I was here. Then my friend said, why do you want to do that? No, this is ridiculous. So I thought, well, I just had a calling, and I said, I'll give it 6 months. I promised my parents I'd come home if I wouldn't be happy. No congregation will keep anyone who's not happy. You're not going to do any good for them anyway. And so by the time the 6 months was over, instead of my saying, oh God, you're so lucky I'm here, I thought, oh God, please don't let them send me home. And it's been that way ever since. Please don't let them send me home. And I've developed through the years a greater and deeper appreciation of the opportunities of serving the Lord in this way. Serving the Lord sounds so noble, but it's just you're belonging to a cause that is so much greater than yourself. And I think it draws the best out of each individual member of the community. You can meet so many of us, not just our congregation, but all other congregations, and see that we are highly individual, and yet we're all drawn together by this common cause, and how the Lord, we hope, is pleased with all of us the way we try to serve Him in our individual ways.
And how do you think that music serves the mission of the congregation?
Well, our congregation is very wise in that it helps each member discover what their special talents are. For example, the congregation, I don't think, would be as well served by me trying to be a nurse as trying to be a musician, because they try to discover what your natural aptitudes are, help you to develop them. That's where you're going to be most effective. And if you're effective, you feel fulfilled, that you're happy you're contributing something. And music, you can hardly think of any celebration in life without music. So I feel that the gift of music, which the congregation has helped me to develop, not only helps the sisters, in our celebrations, and the liturgy is very, very important, central to our lives. But I think I've helped a lot of the students I've taught at the college. What the arts do for people, I think it's very much akin to what religion does for people. It helps you enter into your inmost soul and to develop gifts which the Lord has given you. And if a person is happy within oneself, I think that it does show, and I hope it helps other people become happy. One of my most favorite classes is the class piano for beginning students, and I just love that class because it gives me an opportunity to share the gift of music with people who were so sure that they couldn't play the piano, and in 3.5 months to see them get to the point where they can go on the stage and play a few little pieces and continue with their love of music. And they always say it's so different from all of their other studies, and it should, because if the arts don't bring joy to a person, then I think the essential nature of the art has been squelched somewhere along the line. Doesn't mean it's not work, but it is work that leads to satisfaction.
Are we okay for color temperature there? Have you got the right setting on there? Just to double check. Just making sure.
Am I rambling on too much?
No, not at all.
Hmm?
No.
Okay.
Why don't we try a little tighter shot now? So let's get the setup. How's sound? So that's good. Okay, that's good.
Those are great answers.
Is that okay?
Mm-hmm. Sounds real good. Real good.
Good. South.
Can you think of any story that relates to water, earth, fire, or wind? Or spirit?
Water, earth, fire, wind. Oh, these are all the essential elements in our earthly world. But wind, as we're well aware, is often used as a symbol of the Holy Spirit. And both in the Old Testament, where he appeared as a small, tiny breeze, and in the New Testament, the birth of the church at Pentecost was a mighty gale, a roar, a force of wind. When I was stationed in New Orleans, teaching at a Catholic high school there, the sisters staffed Chappelle High School there, we were in the midst of a hurricane. It was my first time to be in the midst of a hurricane. And we were all huddled together, and I had my guitar, and we were singing songs. And I made up a song about the hurricane. I forgot the name of it. Sister Brenda Ann Baradell would remember. But after the hurricane passed and we came out of it all right, we found out that the new roof to the auditorium, it was a kind of like combination auditorium cafeteria, so it had been sucked off, and all the new big round fixtures, for the lights were out in the parking lot, and it was full of water, and there were little children in their little yellow slickers using those little light fixtures as boats and just enjoying life. I thought, here was a powerful wind that was destructive, but the human spirit found some kind of fun about it, since we had been spared. It wasn't until the whole thing was over that I realized what danger we had been in. So maybe it's just as well I didn't realize it at the time. But I can still remember those little children in their little yellow rain slickers floating around on our light fixtures out in the parking lot, which was a miniature lake at the time. So that's the only thing I can think of about wind.
That's good. I like that. What do you get out of being a sister of charity?
What does this life as a Sister of Charity Incarnate Word do for me? What do I get out of this? Well, I have found in my life, anytime I have calculated anything for my own personal gain or my own personal happiness, it has never lived up to my hopes and my expectations. And I found out when I don't think about what do I get out of this, but what can, how can I spend myself for this greater cause? That's when I've been the happiest. I know it sounds kind of like the late President Kennedy's, ask not what your country can do for you, but what can you do for them. But it is true, and it certainly has been true for me that the less I think about myself and what I'm going to get out of it, are not even to be aware that is a possibility, that I could get something out of it. I think the happier and more content I am, especially as the years go by, and you think, well, I've lived more of my life than what is left to me. So I think, well, things are going along pretty well. I hope God is pleased with me, and I hope I'm doing what He has drawn me here to do, and ask Him to operate through me. The mystery of our congregation is the incarnation. And the incarnation we just celebrated recently, celebrating the 125th anniversary of the founding of the congregation. And the mystery of the Annunciation, where the angel Gabriel asks Mary if she would be willing. You know, she has been chosen. And it's very interesting. She wasn't an American girl. I think we were always very active, you know, say. If it had been one of the Americans that said, sure, God, tell me what to do and I'll do it. And it was the receptivity of Mary that is so mysterious. Be it done to me according to thy will. And then we just celebrated Holy Week recently in the Lord, in the Garden of Olives. Not my will, but thine be done. You know, letting God be the main operator in our lives. And that's, in a sense, for us, we think, well, that's risky because, you know, we like to be in charge. We like to be the one to set the parameters of whatever it is we're going to do or going to be. And then we plan, and this is it. But if you really look at all of our lives, we wake up in the morning and we're never really sure what is going to happen to us today. And so to have this kind of attitude toward life, whatever happens today, it will be a good day. Because whatever happens, the Lord will give me whatever I need at the moment to deal with it in a successful way. And I came across this little saying, I'm sure many people know this. I don't know the origin, but life is what happens to you while you're busy doing other things. And so instead of calculating what do I get out of this life, I think how wonderful it is that the Lord has granted me this opportunity. And I find myself hoping I'm living up to it because it is a great grace.
She's very animated, Sal. Are you sure you're keeping her in the frame and she's looking good and the framing's okay and everything?
I animate.
You got a good shot? Yes, you're very animated. It's wonderful.
What's the hardest thing about being a sister?
Well, one of the hardest things about the life, or the most demanding things, I suppose, I think it changes as a person's life goes on. Initially, separating from your family, from all your loved ones, from all your friends, is what you could call a great sacrifice. But when I think of the number of my sisters who not only gave up family but gave up their home country, I think, you know, what have I to complain about? At least I'm here in the same country. And one of the hardest things about my life now, golly, what can I think? I don't know if it's a hard thing. It's a puzzlement, I should say. Like we're thinking about the future. We're planning very much for the future, and like my style of life as a sister of the Incarnate Word perhaps will not continue as I have experienced it. But there's a growing sense of confidence that religious life, the idea of people living primarily for God, for a cause greater than one's own personal gain, that this kind of call will always be with us, and there will always be people who will respond, and our way of life as a congregation will change with the times. We have already changed a lot, and it was something that at first was hard for me to deal with, and I think that as we've grown and we've accepted like associates with the congregation and volunteers in mission, we see that, you know, we don't have a little corner on this market. We are supposed to be channels of grace for others too, and I see the congregation is continuing, maybe in another form, and so at this point I'm at peace with that. So otherwise, I don't think I have any. I haven't suffered yet, you know. Maybe someday I'll have some opportunity. I'm not looking for it, but when and if it comes, I know the Lord will be there to help.
I'm going to let you hold this. I've got to go get her lunch. And,
No, you don't.
yes, I
No,
do.
you
What
don't.
would you like?
No, you don't. Really,
Yes, I want-
because we're coming close to the end, aren't we?
We've only got 2 questions.
Oh, great, great. Then we can have lunch another time when we have more time.
But I wanted to go get your lunch for you, because we're going to have to do a few pickup shots of you playing and your fingers on the keyboard and the camo there and shoot.
So you may not get an opportunity.
I'd like to go get you. What would you like?
Really, I can't think. I mean, this has got me so nervous I wouldn't be able to eat.
Really? You don't act like you're nervous. Okay, well, I had said I'd get you lunch.
Well, another time. I'll hold you to it another time. We'll go down to Beijing Express.
But you got a long day ahead of you.
I do, but that's all right. I'll pick up something. Terry and I'll pick up
Yes, the
something.
suffering's about to begin.
Okay, that's right. Oh, I knew.
And this is kind of the opposite, although you didn't really name any real hardships. What events have filled you with the greatest joy? Joy's being a sister.
The opportunities in my life or occasions in my life that have given me the greatest joy. It's kind of curious. Well, at the time of my Silver Jubilee, that was a time of great joy, but I was in the midst of studies, so I didn't invite my family down. It was a kind of a milestone. And in the year 2002, I shall be looking forward to 50 years as a sister, so I'll invite everyone watching. But I think sometimes our greatest joys come to us and they just sweep us off our feet when we're least expecting it, maybe at a quiet time, and you just feel all of a sudden flooded with a sense of peace or a sense of, I'm in the right place, I'm where I need to be, I'm doing what I need to be, and all is well. As Blessed Juliana of Norwich said, all shall be well, and all shall be well. And I tell you, all shall be well. So it's a sense of I guess, that you are who you need to be, doing what you need to do, where you need to do it. And people all over the world, I think that's the ultimate happiness, no matter where people are, whatever work they're doing or vocation they're following, a sense that all is well.
Very good. Now, if you could, give me, and you can think about it a moment if you need to, I would like just 5 individual words, about 5, more or less is fine, that can describe or capture any aspect of the spirit of the congregation over the past 125 years.
A spirit of compassion, deep concern for all whose lives we touch, spirit of service and dedication, a spirit of simplicity, a spirit of joy, and a spirit of deep commitment. That we don't give up.
Good. Should I try to get her to just name them one at a time? It's just the individual words.
This is a sequence that you've been thinking about, so you tell me, because this is really your baby. So.
Yeah, we might be able to use it both ways. Let me just have it, just so we have this as an option. All the words that you just described, simplicity, joy, could you name them as individual words instead of using the spirit of, you named several.
What did I start with?
I'm trying to think, simplicity, joy,
We don't mind if they're different.
commitment,
Compassion.
compassion was one, that's 4. I know you had more than that.
Compassion, dedication.
Dedication.
Is dedication the same as commitment?
that's okay.
It's all right.
They can be the same meanings.
But just slightly different nuances.
Yes, yes. So if you'll try one more time just to name the 5 individual words.
With no lead-ins.
Right, just the words.
Compassion, commitment to the people we serve and deal with, a sense of joy, commitment, and a sense of always being there for those who need us and never giving up.
She can't do it. She can't do it.
What did I say?
You
I
can't
said,
just say the 5 words without going,
oh,
like compassion, service,
joy,
simplicity.
simplicity.
Say if you
Without
had
the
to.
sentence.
Oh,
She just,
all right.
She just
Oh,
wants
okay.
the words without
Oh,
the
just the
sentences. No,
words.
just
Okay.
one word for
Okay.
each of the things.
Okay.
It's pretty restrictive, I know,
Uh-huh,
but I think it could be quite effective because we're asking this of all the sisters.
Mm-hmm.
And I would kind of like to just sequence them in and out because they're all coming up with different words.
All right. Compassion, commitment, dedication, joy, always being there where we're needed.
Good. That's good.
Was that more better?
Last one, we got 4 good individual
That's,
words.
yeah, we can use that. And do you have any?
Always being there when we need, that's committed. Really, it's kind of, it's
It's hard to say. How do you say that in one word? Being needed, that's 2 words.
Yeah.
So sometimes it just doesn't work. But that's okay. No, we got it. We got
It's
what
fine.
she got.
Yeah,
what she
because
wanted.
we could actually use just little portions of what they have told us too.
Mm-hmm.
And if, little inspirational phrases that kind of mean have one meaning. Do you have any favorite stories about the public's perception of what sisters are all about? Or misperception?
Well, this is one experience I had when I went to a grade school to do some musical accompaniment for one of our graduates who was teaching at this particular grade school, and they were little preschoolers. And I came into the door, and this little boy's eyes got wide. He said, "There's Jesus." And I thought, what a happy misperception. I try to live up to it.
That's a user. We
Very
can certainly
good.
use that one. That's a
Very
great one.
good.
Is that a good-
It's supposed to be
Very good.
sister stories, so any stories that
That
you've
really
got-
happened. It's a hoot. Yeah, it was so
Yeah,
fun.
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's perfect.
And you know what it was? It's because I'm still wearing, a modified habit. I don't think I'd better get into this thing about habit or not habit, but just among us 4. For me, the preservation of some form of dress is a symbol, and I think symbols are very important ways of communicating important values. And see, if I hadn't been wearing a habit and just looked like anyone, I wouldn't have been mistaken for Jesus. Although at his time, he just wore whatever,
Yeah.
But the symbolism of wearing a distinctive garb which identifies you as a person in the service of God. It's really very presumptuous to wear any kind of garb like that because, people really hold you to it. So that's a sister, look. So, but this is just among ourselves.
Yes, we've gotten quite a few reactions.
Very different reactions too.
The
Right.
sisters who have decided not to, their attitude is that it cuts them off from communicating. And in my case, on the contrary, it has opened up communication far more.
But isn't it wonderful that you all can do the thing that makes you
Yes.
feel comfortable
Uh-huh.
with what you do,
Yes.
rather than
Yes.
that you don't have to wear that crazy, no offense
Oh,
meant,
like,
but that
no,
heavy
no.
wool
Oh,
black.
listen, I have marks in my jaw from the starch.
Yeah.
Really? My mother said, what is that? I said, oh, I think that's from all those years of wearing the game.
Wow.
I'm a
Oh,
mom.
especially in Texas.
Oh, yeah, the wool serge. Oh, it was. Yeah.
Gosh, I'm like hot in this.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'm.
Right
This
in
is
front of the light.
and this is a
I'm not
cotton
feeling
blend.
it either.
How about if we do that question that you've asked before for some of the other sisters that I didn't write down
Okay.
about history? Remember
Okay.
you?
Can you relate any of the things that you experience today? Can you relate them directly to the first sisters that came over into a new environment and their struggles and their triumphs? If you could, I would like you to name what you would like to compare, and then talk specifically about the first sisters so that we know that you're making a comparison between the two. It's a little bit more difficult to incorporate this question in your answer.
Mm-hmm.
But, are there any times that you can relate to them and their struggles and their feelings?
Oh, let me see. The first three sisters came over for a very specific purpose. It was to take care of the sick who were really in desperate need of some kind of aid. So their mission was defined for them. They came here for that purpose. And then adults died and left children, which led them to take care of the children, which led to orphanages. Children need to be educated, so that led us into education. So they were constantly responding to the needs of the time. And today, many of those needs are already being fulfilled by other organizations, federal, state organizations, the school system, the hospital system. And there are new ministries taking care of people in their homes, like home health care, which is a wonderful thing to do, which helps the poor. People with AIDS, people suffering from drug abuse, children, abused women and children. And our sisters have, I think, all through our history have tried to seek out the most needy, the most neglected, those who slip through the cracks. And I think in this way that we really are, I say we, as member of the congregation, although with my teaching music, I don't feel sometimes that I contribute much except by my prayers and my support of my other sisters who are out there in the front ranks, taking care of these people with these new special needs. And so I think that we really have maintained that missionary spirit of service, which our first three sisters. And I think that's why God has blessed us and will continue to bless us.
Especially with music therapy added to that.
Although, yes, I think you're
Yes,
mistaken
uh-huh,
about that you don't contribute much, because you just never know when you touch someone enough to have them find an outlet for their own spirituality, or,
Well,
you know,
I hope that's what music does, yes. Yes,
I think you do a lot more than you give yourself credit for.
Well,
At least in that
it's
last
probably,
statement.
It's probably better that way than to think one has done a whole lot and find out, whoops, nothing there in the ledger.
I suspect that's true for
All of
many
our lives.
politicians and other people.
Mhm.
Well, can you think of anything to add, or?
Favorite story throughout. Do you have any, I'm sure that you all read the stories of the past sisters and their experiences and everything. Do you have any particular story that sticks in your mind in terms of your favorite story about a sister that's been either inspirational or you find tremendously funny, or do you have a particular sister or incident that's occurred?
Who was the sister who was responsible for the purchase of the Brackenridge estate?
You could just describe her as that.
Uh-huh.
You know, you can just say there was a sister who was in charge, if you know a story about her.
Yeah, I would imagine, this is such a classic story. I mean, Dick McCracken likes to use this story a lot. Well, I think one of my favorite stories about the earlier history of the congregation is the time when Colonel Brackenridge finally did allow the sisters the opportunity to purchase his property. At first, the sisters only wanted to purchase a certain number of acres, and he said, nope, it's either all or nothing. So they finally made that momentous decision to go ahead and put themselves in the bind, you might say, and try to purchase this huge amount of property with funds. Where would they get them? I don't know. Unknown sources. And legend has it that Colonel Brackenridge was quite certain that these little sisters were not going to be able to come up with the payments regularly, and that it wouldn't be very long down the road where he would be reclaiming his property. Well, as things turned out, though, friends of the sisters rallied round, and funds were provided, and somehow or other, which is really a miracle if you think of it of things happening in our lives as little miracles. They did pull it off, and they were able to pay for that property. And in the lease, as I understand, or the contract of the purchase, it said the building and the buildings and the grounds and all of the furnishings of the buildings, and at the time his library. Well, Colonel Brackenridge showed up and went to the sister and said, you know, I've come for my books. And she, very politely said, but if you recall the terms of the contract, everything in the house and the furnishings and your books, and he had to agree. And I thought, today where feminism, you know, the idea of women claiming their own rights is so strong, it's not that the sisters were doing this for themselves, but it was just, it was right, it was just, and they had the courage to stand up for their rights. And I've often thought, I would like to get some of those bumper stickers that say, sisterhood is powerful, and put them on all the convent cars. I hope it would be understood in the right way.
Sisterhood is powerful. That's a good one.
You've seen this bumper stickers. But you know, that she had the courage of her convictions,
Sure,
and
well, I mean,
she
it
didn't let
shows
herself
that the
be
sisters are pretty
intimidated.
hard-nosed, even, you know, that they're not just sort of...
And when you think these are little French people who didn't know the language, didn't know the customs, didn't know that, you know, what courage.
Mm-hmm.
And he could well have been, I mean, I would have been intimidated. I said, sure, let me help you put him in a box.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wouldn't have had the courage.
Well, we certainly know Mr. Morgan wouldn't have been as happy. What I'd like to do now is... Any sort of, just get pickup shots, anything you think, Sal, that we could use as for this opening sequence. let's, what I'd like you to do is get a shot of her, how about a shot just of the Sacramentum Admirable behind her? Can you get a shot there, maybe with,
Most admirable sacrament.
okay. Can you get a shot of that? Because since we're seeing in the background, I think we could cut to that if we needed to. Zoom in all the way on it. I don't mind if we lose her. But I just want something that we can cut to if we need to.
You want some quiet?
Sure, anything is fine for this. We're just getting some different shots.
That it will be a true reflection of who we are, what we try to do, what we try to do.
Oh, I hope so.
And I thank you for hearing so much.
Certainly not getting as much out of it as I'm going to do. It's very an inspiration. Okay, Sal? Did you get some? I mean, we got,
Yeah,
so if I need to cut to that? I've got
Yeah, you
that
have
stuff.
enough to where you can go ahead and...
Okay. And the only other thing I could think is let's get some shots of her hand, perhaps, over here. As she was talking, you know, the usual stuff that we do with hands. Okay, so you just want to keep talking to me, just kind of sometimes had your hand at rest, you know, you can have your hand at rest and then, you know, just move. And again, this is just a cut so that we don't just always have your face, although I'm hoping to mix it up with some other things. Okay.
Hold on, let me get focused here.
Where's Loriette gone?
She's gone to be ill, I think.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
She's sitting right there.
She's sick.
Okay.
Did you say that you wanted to look at the harmonium? You
Yes,
might not
I'd love
have
to. Well, we might just have Sal walk down there with you. Maybe we can get some.
I have some information on it that's useful to you.
Okay.
What else?
It's hard to
can-
use your hands
Yes,
when you're not talking.
Yes, when it's not a natural.
That's right.
response.
I know, and we'll figure a way to cut it.
I
in.
hadn't ever been conscious that I moved as much when you said I was animated. You know, the same.
Well, no, it's wonderful. It's much more interesting to look at somebody who's moving rather than. But it's different. Different people are different. Did you get some?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Go ahead. Okay, come up here, Sal.
this dates way back to the last century. It's astonishing this instrument can make as much music as it does. There are a few dead notes and a few things that don't work quite right. But not being a regular performer on this, I have to remember to keep the bellows inflated, otherwise the sound keeps dying off on me, and sometimes you're so busy playing that you forget, oops, I have to keep the sound going. But this is supposedly the first organ that was brought into this chapel in the late 1800s.
You know where it came from?
France. But what part of France, I'm not sure.
It's the sound of her feet moving and her fingers moving.
Yes. When you talk about it.
Yeah, I got it.